Hey, Dad.
Hey, how you doing?
What's up? How's it going?
Being in Las Vegas, I'm kind of tired, but I'm enjoying the States. How you doing,
Tired?
young man?
You working hard, working overtime right now?
Yeah, trying to do what I need to do to try to save a lot of people's lives and stuff. Especially with this epidemic, pandemic of coronavirus, and all my experience of the years, working in the jungles and all the stuff I do. You know what I do. So this is a different point in my life where I've done enough push-ups in my life. So this is my moment in time to make a big difference.
I love it. Well, for people who don't know, obviously, like this is my dad. He's the OG, I would say. We also call him Pops. My dad is a microbiologist. He's also a professor of virology in Germany, and he's the director of clinical research and education for the Tropical Pathology and Infectious Disease Association. So he's also a trauma surgeon, a veteran, and he's just an all-around badass. That's what I would say. So we're gonna just dive right in. We'll make this like short and sweet and quick. If you guys have any questions, like feel free to write them, and I'll try to like pay attention during the live stream and get them answered. So, okay, first up, Dad, can you tell us what is the coronavirus?
Well, I mean, the real thing on the coronavirus is we define viruses as DNA or an RNA. This coronavirus is an RNA virus, and it has a lot of capabilities. The coronavirus is a virus really of animals, really of bats. It's been around since 1960, probably a lot longer than that. And what's happened is that this particular coronavirus was discovered in 1960, and it just happens to jump into man. Back then in 1960, it came from bats. We know that the coronavirus itself the bats carry about 400 different types of coronavirus. And we know for a fact out of the 400 coronaviruses, 3 affect human beings. That's SARS, that's MERS, and also this particular COVID-19. And the bottom line, at the end of the day, the coronavirus is an RNA virus, and it is very smart. RNA viruses have the ability to mutate all the time, and that's why we're having such a big problem with this particular virus, because it's RNA mutagenic capabilities. I mean, it's far worse than influenza and a lot of the other diseases.
So when you talk about the origin of the virus, I know you said that this particular strand of the coronavirus, is that the right terminology, strand?
Mm-hmm.
It comes from bats?
Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So how does that get transmitted into human beings?
Well, most of the time that a lot of people don't realize that these viruses are naturally in animals themselves. That's their host. And for example, when we talk about the bat's been around since the prehistoric times. In fact, bats carry over 1,000 different RNA viruses. So what usually happens is that man encroaches in their territory, deeper in the jungles, or they do something exotic. So for example, the bat doesn't get rabies. The bat doesn't get coronavirus. The bat doesn't get diseases. So what happens is we get in contact with this particular animal, i.e. a bat, could be a cat, whatever. And then what happens is we're eating the bat, or we're drinking the blood of the bat, and we're doing some of these practices that some of these people do in these foreign countries. You get what we call the words called spillover or spillage. That virus jumps into the human beings. Some of these people think drinking bat blood makes them younger again. Maybe they don't cook their meat.
I need some of that.
Well, I don't think you want this particular one.
No.
But this particular coronavirus is different because right now there's 8 strains now. It's mutated. The strain that we see now here in the United States and Europe and South America is not the same strain that came out of Wuhan. It is different. It's 8 different strains now circulating in the world, getting ready to do another rotation. But there are 2 strains of that called the L strain and S strain that affects human beings. And now we're starting to see patients that have 2 different strains at one time. So the bottom line, at the end of the day, is a very mutagenic, very pathogenic organism, RNA virus, and it has a lot of capabilities.
Okay, well, you always talk about old world meets new world. When you say that in relation to viruses, what do you mean?
Well, when we think about pandemics and diseases themselves, how diseases impact people, a lot of times what happens is the old world meets the new world. For example, When Columbus came to Espanola, which is Haiti and Dominican Republic, many, many years ago, the old world brought smallpox, and that's why all the Indians were wiped off the island. I.e., when the Pilgrims came to the United States, old world met new world. The people in England have lived through the smallpox epidemics. They lived through the Black Plague, and they brought diseases to the American Indians, which was a new population, and it devastated them. And so what's happening with us is the same analogy, is that we haven't been exposed to it. And so now what happens is this virus is given the same type of, I would say the same type of, relationship to what happened in the past and what's happening to us. So everybody on the planet will be exposed to coronavirus. That's a fact. And then what's going to happen is that as we go through this cycle, people are going to get, some people get immunity, some people are not going to make it. But at the end of the day, after this thing cycles for about 2 or 3 years in our society, we'll start getting people to have immunity. And another example of that is what's happening now in South America. There's a group of Indians, about 50,000 of them in Brazil. A doctor left there March 6th, went to Europe, came back to this population of Indians in Brazil, and he affected half the people. And so the Indians are starting to die of coronavirus as we speak in South America. So new virus into a new population, that's what's happening.
So that's one of the things I was going to ask you. What is the global impact of the coronavirus?
Well, the global impact disease is exactly what it is. It's changing society. If you look back in 1918, the pandemic that wiped out half the world, that pandemic, a lot of people don't realize the pandemic in 1918 went on for 2 years. It went from 1918 to 1920. So this is going to go on for a minimum of 2 to 3 years.
But my birthday is April 27th, so I was hoping it could end before then, because it's tourist season, baby. So seriously, you think that this could go on for how long? This pandemic, and then I want to talk to you about how you catch coronavirus, treatments, etc. But how long do you really think this is going to go on?
You want me to give you Dr. Rowland's, or you want me to give Daddy's version of it? Which one you want?
I want you to do whatever is not going to give me anxiety here in New York, okay?
This is going to go on for a while, folks. That's just the reality. And people are going to get themselves, the bottom line at the end of the day, this is going to go on for a while. It's going to at least be on, it's going to be going on for at least 2 years. And what I mean by 2 years is society's going to change. It's going to impact everything from economics, social, the whole 9 yards. People trying to understand what social distancing, which is really quarantine. How do we function in the new world? It's going to change everything. How we communicate, how we love people. People that are poor are going to be really poor.
Yeah.
You look at what's happening in South America now. People are quarantined with military folks on the streets arresting people. People have to live. So it's going to change the way we behave, the way we see people, and how we protect ourselves. Going back to basic hygiene and all that good stuff. So it's going to change everything. How we're talking right now, social, communication on the internet. Right. How do you go to a restaurant? How do you look at somebody? How do you?
So basically, our whole lives are about to be flipped upside down, is what you're saying.
Well,
okay,
I don't know.
Got it. So
okay.
How do we got to know more about the coronavirus, COVID-19, right? How is it transmitted? So we all have the rumors we hear, what we're told on TV, but what is a general good rule of thumb? Staying away from people 6 feet at least, coughing and sneezing, avoiding people in that way. How long does the virus live? How do we stay away from it?
Well, the reality is that this virus, like I said earlier, has a lot of capabilities. This virus has the ability. What we wanted to find is that the word that people need to understand is how do we define what effective fitness is? Effective fitness means, how does the virus infect people? Well, this virus has the capability of affecting people not just through aerosol, respiration. It also can affect you through contact. So, for example, somebody coughs, somebody breathes. Now people say it's 6 feet. Now there are articles saying that this virus can travel 32 feet.
32 feet?
32 feet. Not 6 feet, but 32 feet.
Wow.
In some studies, depending on what the wind currents is. When I was in biological warfare in the military, we used to put viruses in the San Francisco Bay and watch the wind currents from cars travel to see how far a virus can travel. Also, this virus is through respiration and secretion. So people can blow their nose, they can spit, they can get it on their hands, they can touch the gas handles, they can touch tables. And this virus has the capabilities of living 2 days, up to 25 days, depending on what the conditions are.
And what kind
And
of
then,
surface it is, right? Because they say like metals and plastics, it lives on those different surfaces at different
yeah, yeah,
lengths.
you know, it's different surfaces depending on what the temperature of that particular surface is, the humidity,
Right.
dry temperature versus all that stuff. So this virus has a lot of capabilities, and also it can be transmitted through feces, diarrhea. So this virus has a lot of capabilities. A lot of people
Through
don't realize.
feces?
Yeah,
So like
diarrhea
your toilet could
could
eventually could potentially just be like a virus hub.
absolutely. This virus affects not just the your lungs; it affects your heart, it affects your liver, it affects your kidneys, and it affects your gastrointestinal tract. And a lot of people, early signs and symptoms of people have diarrhea, and so that means they're shedding some of the virus in their stool. So we have a lot to learn about this virus, but it has a lot of capabilities versus influenza, where it's just all pulmonary.
Okay,
And we're
so
okay, sorry about that.
wow. Oh no, you're good. Don't say sorry. We're live. We're hanging out. So I've heard like a couple of people like saying they've gotten tests or they're not able to get tests because they're only testing people who have like severe symptoms or they meet like a certain age requirement. First of all, can you tell me like what is the test that they give you when you're getting tested for the coronavirus?
Well,
Like when I go in there, like what happens to me?
well, the test that they're trying to do is what we do is called PCR. It's polymerase chain reaction, which we use is we look at the RNA. We're actually looking at the nuclear material to make that diagnosis. So we get a sample, we take that sample, we get the RNA, we break the RNA, we put it in a tube, and we take the RNA, we put it in a machine that can match that genetic pattern through what we call TACMan machines. It comes back positive. This is 100% confirmatory, 100%, but it's very
So how do they
expensive.
take the sample from a human though?
They can take it through your nose. They can take it through your mouth. Even
So
get
like swabbing up your
swabbing your
nose,
nose,
swabbing
yeah,
your throat, like
your
what?
throat, and then also taking blood. But at the end of the day, the primary diagnostic, which is the most expensive one, is this PCR. The second one, what they're trying to come up with, is to take your blood and see if you've built up antibodies, and that's the second one. But they haven't really developed that test yet. But the PCR is difficult. What's happening is that it takes sometimes 1 to 7 days for them to get results, and these people are infected. So a nurse gets tested, and she's out there going back to work, infecting other individuals.
Right.
So that's the lag time. And the biggest problem that we have here in the United States and worldwide is that we haven't tested everybody. We can't, we don't have the capabilities, and that's why we're so far lagging. So in one week, I wouldn't be surprised if there's 500,000 cases in the United States and up to 25,000 people dead.
So you think that we should be testing everybody, like absolutely everybody should just get a test? And like that could be supplied to us by the government, like, or like the World Health Organization, like who should be responsible for like making sure we're all tested, or is that something that we should be doing?
Well, and the bottom line is that, and that's where people make the mistake. You're not going to just get one test. Everybody in the world, everybody in the United States needs to be tested because, and we're not talking about one test. We're talking about 3 or 4 tests in a year, because that individual, it was positive. They work at a restaurant. They go to the restaurant. You go there for dinner, and they're coughing, hacking. Maybe they're asymptomatic supercarrier. You're infected. Don't make the mistake that somebody in Idaho, in Pocatello, or some country town in Mississippi cannot be ground zero. And so we have to test everybody. So when people talk about the test is not just one test. The test itself is going to be multiple tests over years until we actually really get control of the coronavirus.
Wow. So if I was to get the coronavirus, what is the standard treatment? Like we've all heard in the news, like they say certain drugs, like malaria drugs, etc., can help treat it. And what is it really about the virus that makes you sick? Is it the virus itself, or is it some kind of infection that you get post-virus?
Well, it's a combination of both. The bottom line at the end of the day, and Dr. Fauci, he will back me up on this. There is really no treatment for RNA viruses. There's no real treatment for Ebola. There's no real treatment for influenza. There's no real treatment for coronavirus, SARS, or MERS. So what we're trying to do is that we're trying to come up with strategies to inhibit the proliferation of the virus in the cell. But people need to understand these viruses are intracellular. A coronavirus is an obligate intracellular parasite. So you breathe the virus.
Break it down. What does that mean?
What it means that when you breathe this virus into your lungs, this virus goes inside your lung cells, It goes inside your kidney cells. It goes inside your heart cells. It is very difficult for our immune system to attack cells that are inside. This virus is similar to HIV. Let's be real. HIV lives inside your lymphocytes, your cells that are responsible for the immune system. So this virus has a lot of capabilities. So when we say obligate intracellular parasite, the virus lives inside the cell. So when we talk about treatment, they're talking about, Rismavir. They're talking about
And what are these
malaria.
for?
Remdesivir is a medication we use in HIV patients. And what that medication does is inhibits the RNA-dependent polymerase of the virus. Every virus has an RNA-dependent polymerase, which is a protein that allows it to read. So our strategy is that we can inhibit this particular protein that allows that virus to replicate, then we can stop the virus. And that's very difficult because the virus is mutating, the virus is inside the cell. And so a lot of the strategy that we're trying to do is trying to keep the virus from getting inside the cell. Now, everybody's talking about this malaria medication that people are touting, but there's no real studies on that. People are talking about some guy treated 600 people on malaria medication, has 100% viral thing. You got OBGYN guys quoting people, the French people. Well,
So
the French,
basically, like, we don't know what the actual treatments are until the studies are done.
yes, because we
Okay.
haven't done the clinical trials and people are taking a big chance. I've written in my career probably 1,000 prescriptions for malaria. I've treated 1,000 patients in the jungles with malaria medication, Plaquenil, and it works very well on malaria. It's a parasitic medication, but the malaria medication also has the ability to help with people with lupus and also rheumatoid arthritis, which is an anti-suppressive. So that's some of the ideal and the actual trying to get a vaccine. You're looking at 2, 3, 4 years from now, and I can guarantee you the virus 3 or 4 years is not going to be the same virus as today. It's going to mutate.
Okay, well, I want to see if anyone has questions. I
Okay.
think I saw one about someone asking if we should keep our houses hotter or colder. Like, should we be running our, temperature? Yeah, should we keep our houses running hot or cold then?
To be honest with you, I think you should run it the way you're comfortable, because a lot of people think that this virus does not fit the normal dogma. People think that, with influenza is usually January, February, March, and then when it gets warm, it goes away. This virus is not going away, folks. In fact, down in South America, Africa, these countries that are below the tropical cancer, the equator, their cases are going to explode in about a month. So this virus works in heat, it works in cold, it doesn't discriminate. It's so you can do whatever your temperature you want to do. It's not going to make a difference.
Wow, okay. That's interesting. Okay. Someone else wants to know, is there something we can take in a prophylactic way to help us should we get it?
No, the only thing you can take prophylactically is, is trying to have a healthy diet, i.e. making sure that taking vitamin C, vitamin D,
Zinc?
what?
Zinc?
Yeah, zinc will work fine. Any of these minerals and stuff are great. Anything that can kind of prime your immune system is the best thing that you can do, and is try to have a very, very a positive attitude. And I'll ask you about some biosecurity things that you can have to protect yourself, about washing hands and all that stuff when you're ready for that.
Okay. Well, another question someone has is, does he think 30 days is enough to stay home? Like, can the world reopen, or is that a bad idea? Which I get that question too, because if everyone's going to get it anyway, so I get we're trying to limit the impact on our healthcare system, because our healthcare system isn't ready for such a huge influx of patients, right?
Yeah, the point on that is that what people are trying to do, and what England tried to get into, is it's a word we call herd immunity. What is herd immunity? Herd immunity means that you want everybody to get exposed to it. And then people are going to get immunity, and some people are not going to get immunity. But this is a big variable with this disease. And what herd immunity used to be was that back in the old days, back 300 years ago, 400 years ago, the older people would get the disease, recover, and then when the next epidemic came around, they would have immunity, and all the young people would be sick, but the old people can continue to work. That's what herd immunity is supposed to be, to protect a certain population. But in this particular virus, in 30 days, this is not going to be over with. And then can people stay home for 30 days? Well, if I was in the positions, I would tell people, don't worry, stay home for 15 days. And then when 15 days come up, I'm going to tell you, it's going to be another 15
It's gonna
days.
be another 15.
and then,
Just,
then
just
in
a few more 15.
yeah. And then after about April
Yes.
30th, Americans are going to start getting crazy. And then you're going to see the social unrest because
I'm
people are going
already
to have
crazy.
to.
I think, this social isolation is very challenging for most of us. I think I think I ask myself 5 times a day, like, have I lost it? Did I hear something? Like, I think I am going crazy. Another question, you've told me this, Advil versus Tylenol. I know the answer, but I'm going to let the professional do it. What is the answer? Advil versus Tylenol?
Well, if we look at one of the French studies and stuff, the patients they put them on Motrin for fever and pain, they died quicker. And
So the
because
people so this is a French study, and so the people who they were treating with Motrin, which is ibuprofen,
right,
they died quicker.
they died quicker, had bigger complication,
It accelerated.
accelerated the whole
Wow.
condition and stuff. And so, what the recommendation is to use paracetamol or Tylenol for the fever and pain.
So
So
like
that's why,
acetaminophen, yeah.
yeah, that's why I make sure that all the patients I'm dealing with and my colleagues, everybody's taking Tylenol because bottom line, at the end of the day, the results you get are what we see in the field. You don't want to be experimenting with malaria medication like the guy died in Arizona, people dying in
No, that was like,
Africa.
what was that? Someone drank fish tank cleaner because it
Yeah,
had a certain ingredient that Trump had
yeah,
said.
yeah. It had chloroquine in it, and well, he's not here anymore, and he's in a body bag because he didn't follow the science. Nowadays, it's important to understand the science and trying to get through this situation.
Oh my God. Like, you guys, if you have any more questions, hurry up and write them. Thank you so much for tuning in. I think this is a decent number for my first live and my father's first live ever. We've made this happen. Get your questions in because we're about ready to wrap up. Dad, is there anything else that you wanted to say? Like, what do you think the future is from here?
I think if I had to say anything else is that, to be positive is that, we as people always trying to kind of adapt to the situation. That's one thing we learn in the military. You have to have a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C. And you have to be able to adapt and see where the future is going. And I think the most important thing is that we'll adapt to the situations and some of the basic stuff that we didn't think about, because when we don't see microorganisms and stuff, they're not important. But if you do basic hygiene, i.e., and not everybody's talking about, wash your hands with soap and water. No, you wash your hands with Hibiclens, which is an antiseptic that we use in our biohazard labs and our hospitals, which kills fungus, bacteria, and viruses and lasts 24 hours. That's the stuff you have to have every day from here on out.
But what if we don't have access to that? Because isn't that something like healthcare providers use? And should we not be doing that because we don't want to be taking their resources?
Well, the hand washing protocol is always a 2-step protocol. When we wash our hands with Hibiclens, we also do a secondary wash with alcohol. If anything, if they don't have Hibiclens, what they can use is alcohol, because we know that 70% isopropyl alcohol, washing your hands for 20 seconds, kills 100% viruses and bacteria. Soap and water does not kill viruses. It kills maybe a little bit of the bacteria,
And the dirt.
and the dirt.
The dead skin.
But people don't realize that viruses stick to your skin. They like the contact. So a virus gets on your hand, it stays there. You touch your face, the virus gets stuck to your face, gets stuck on your clothes. That's part of the mechanism of action of the virus and transmission.
Okay. We have a few more questions because I want to make sure everyone gets their questions answered. So someone said, I own a company that's an essential vendor. Because of that, myself and my employees have to work, and we're on large construction sites and around a lot of people. What can I do to protect my people?
Well, what you can do is, come up with some good, what we call biosecurity and environmental protection protocols, and have somebody evaluate your organization, i.e., for example, how are people washing their hands? Are you guys wearing masks? Are you, what are you doing for personal hygiene? What are you doing for protection? How much exposure you had? It's funny, we have our military here in the United States, and I was watching CNN about an hour ago, and they're showing the National Guard guys in New York City, where you're at right now. And guess what? All the soldiers were like 1 feet away from each other. So the military guys are not even following standard
Yeah, I saw a
6
stat
feet.
on the NYPD, and like the rate is crazy with how many people
Yes.
are off work right now because they have COVID
Yeah.
19 as
So
well.
if she needs to, tell her to contact
It's
me,
a, I
and
think it's a boy. I think this boy, if the boy needs to, contact my dad, slide into the DMs. This is
we can
appropriate.
design protocols. So for not the protocols won't just be for the day; they're going to be for tomorrow in the future, because you have to get back to work and you have to protect your employees. And so we'll come up with protocols and procedures on biosafety. You know what they
I
need to
love
wear
it.
and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so hit him up, hit my dad up, and he can help you with all of that, how to like implement rules and regulations throughout your company and like really protect your employees and be safe. Another person wants to know, can you do Theraflu instead of Tylenol, like before bed to sleep through the night?
No, Theraflu, that's not going to work at all. I mean, just stick with the basics. Everybody's trying to become exotic and stuff. If you
Just do
stick
like
with the
what? Tea, lemon, like
yeah,
water, and
yeah,
like Tylenol.
yeah, even vodka.
I don't know about that. I feel like that would give me a hangover, not a cure.
I'm trying to have a little
Someone
humor too.
wants to know, once you get it, can you get it again?
Yes, the most important thing is that's where people make their mistake at. And what's happening is that, once you get this disease does not confer immunity. So what does that mean? So if you come back and you're positive with this coronavirus and you get through the symptoms and you survive and you get on the other side, and then all of a sudden you're very happy that you made it, you can be reinfected. And they're showing now that 10 to 15% of the people that get the disease are being reinfected again. So you take 100,000 people, do 15%, that's 15,000 people. So you always, when you get over this disease, you have to still use good biological safety protocols to protect yourself. So
Oh my goodness.
this is not just a one-time shot. You're going to be doing this for a while until this COVID pandemic kind of goes through our system.
Okay. Thank you, Bianca. She said my skin is looking great. Someone else wants to know, Dad, what is the number one worrying symptom?
Number one, what?
Worrying. Like if you get this symptom, you should be worried. Maybe this is how I'm taking it. I'm sorry if I'm freaking you out. But like you should take this symptom and be like, I need to go to the hospital and like be worried that I'm in bad shape, maybe? Is that what you mean? I'm dramatic.
No,
I'm
well,
sorry, guys.
I'm going to give you an example. I got a call last night from Montgomery, Alabama, from a nurse. A nurse that called me last night. She was 2 weeks ago. She had a patient. The patient was going for a pre-op. The patient coughed in the room, and nobody thought about it. And the patient ended up getting a COVID-19 test, came back positive. Well, she called me yesterday because the last 2 days she had a very, 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 very painful, painful throat. She had a very non-productive cough. She had a fever, and she had chills, and she had nausea and diarrhea. And so these are the main symptoms you need to be looking for, not just based off fever.
Okay, wait. So
So
list them again. These are the main symptoms to pay attention to.
a very, very painful throat, a
Okay.
non-productive cough, nausea, diarrhea, and then you can have a fever too. But these are the main ones that you see with this coronavirus. And this is from a nurse that I, took care of last night in Montgomery, Alabama and stuff.
So another friend wants to know, how at risk am I with asthma?
Well, I mean, any pulmonary insult condition, asthma, a COPD, a smoker, if you already have some type of pulmonary problem, this virus attacks your pulmonary, so you're already immunocompromised. So your disease is going to be a lot more worse than somebody that just has normal lung capacity. So the most important thing for you to do is make sure that you don't get the disease. And if you do get disease, make sure you get an early and demand treatment and get treated early because you've already immunocompromised.
Oh my goodness. Great information. Okay, cool. I think we answered everybody's questions.
Okay.
If you guys want us to keep doing these live sessions, let me know. Let my dad, Dr. Rolling, know. His Instagram is Dr. Rolling. Pretty simple. I might have suggested that because I thought it was a good name. But yeah, so hit us up, DM us, and we'll try to make these happen more often. Thanks for watching. Say goodbye, Dad. That's what we do in television. We sign off.
You know what? This is, I've been waiting for you to do an interview with me for years. All this stuff, Al Roker, and, you're interviewing Van Diesel and Sigourney Weaver and everybody and all these movie stars. And I finally get to be with you live. Everybody, I created her. That's my baby girl.
I feel good
Love you.
because you know what? Typically in my interviews, I might have some nerves, which I'm not gonna lie, I did get a little nervous coming on because I was like, whew, I just hope he doesn't embarrass me. But you didn't, of course. I was just like, don't say anything about the bottle and me throwing the bottle as a child. That's my dad's favorite story. So we're not gonna go there. But
No, we're not
thank
going
you,
to go there.
Dad.
No, thank you very much, Jordan. I hope that this was good for your friends. I was glad you asked me that because I think it's important for your generation to understand that. I mean, and the younger generation, because people are not taking this stuff seriously. And these people that went down to spring break and they're thinking this is a party, you know, when we're putting you in a body bag, you won't be laughing. And so people need to take this stuff very seriously because this is a game changer. And so I'm going to try to give everybody the best information. And I look forward to coming back next week and giving, maybe we'll do another one. I can't believe I've been trying to get you to come to Peru and do a jungle story on your dad, me
I
and the
know
Amazon.
one day, you know what? This is the thing is I'm building my empire. I'm building my own production company outside of everything that I do with Billboard and BET and the brands that I work with. So when my personal production company is up and running in full-fledged, that's definitely on the docket in my unscripted department. We're heading down to South America and we'll do a bio, a doc on you so people can really get to know you and see all the marvelous work that you're doing for everyone.
Well, I tell you something. I want to tell you thank you very much. And I'm very proud of you. You're my little superstar, my little baby girl. You know, I used to, you know, change your diapers.
Okay,
and all
let's go. We gotta go.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye, baby. Love